I only came here because, yeah, I have this meeting.
Yeah, you got time.
15. No, it doesn't matter. Let's just talk.
I can just crop it.
Yeah, we ain't talking on 15 now. I got that. Is it already on?
It's alright.
Really?
I can crop it out to like when
Okay. Okay. Let's talk.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Roberts.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Super.
Thank you for agreeing to interview. Okay, so pretty much I would like to know how was it growing up, you know, in the early 1950s, 1960s, you know, the art scene was just starting. You know, how was it for you growing up? Like, what led you to become an artist?
Wow. I never knew there was an art scene growing up. All I knew, and I say a lot, so forgive me for that. I recognize that I'm trying to do better with that. But in growing up, during primary school, I had a speech problem, speech impediment. I used to stammer a lot. And for me, you know, kids being kids, I used to be teased a lot because of my speech. And so I'm very shy, into my shell, and what I used to do was to go inside the classroom during recess time, and I used to just doodle and draw. And what was so interesting during primary school was that those same kids who used to tease me a lot, they used to come back from recess, and then they started to notice my drawing. And what was so interesting is that they were more interested in my drawings and questioning whether I did it alone, and they just stopped teasing me. Because it was more about, man, you didn't do that, the teacher helped you.
They were amazed.
They were amazed at the work. And so I learned very early, for me, that art was one of my strengths. And I didn't know what talent was meant back then. But I knew that art was one of my strengths, and I also realized that it was always a fallback position for me to neutralize situations. And it became a way for me to communicate. And what was so interesting was I always remember from high school to junior high, from primary school to junior high to high school, my teachers were always supportive of my art. I never knew when the speech impediment kind of disappeared, but I can always remember me becoming more involved and more interested in art the older I got, and depending on the art teachers. So I was always privileged to have great art teachers who encouraged me, particularly when I started to win prizes. Okay, and then in high school, I remember after my GCEs getting good grades, and then deciding that I really wanted to be an artist. And so, was I crazy?
No.
I think everybody around me thought I was. So you gotta be kidding me. How are you gonna make a living? So my mother, on the one hand, and the eldest in my family, and also my father, you know, everybody questioned me. Well, how are you gotta be crazy. Why don't you go be a policeman or go be a priest, but not an artist? But I remember in high school, Juanita Butler, who said to me that, and this was at Aaron Bailey High at that time, which is now Highbury High, said, listen man, you're very talented, but if you want to study art, you need to leave the island. Said, because you will not find a lot of support here in the Bahamas. And this was in 1971, 72. But what happened was, I was like, nobody supported the whole notion or the idea of me being an artist. And so therefore, by extension, there were very little funding. There was no funding. There was no support. It was like, there was a vacuum. But somehow somebody, I can't remember who it was, and I'm still trying to figure out who that individual was. They said, listen, why don't you go find a job? And going to search for a job, going down Bay Street, because that's what we do. We go out looking for a job. We don't have a portfolio, or you don't have any kind of appointment. You just go knocking on door to door. And what I did was I went downtown and I stumbled upon Brent Malone. And so I explained to him who I was and what I wanted. He said, man, listen, I need somebody, you know, I need somebody to work in my gallery. And so that's when I started to work at Matinee Art Gallery downtown. And so I learned a lot about the business of art, and I was able to further develop my talent as an artist while working at Matinee Art Gallery, because at Matinee Art Gallery, in the 70s, before I went off to school, that's why I learned about Amos Ferguson. That's when I learned about Max Taylor, the Burnside brothers. At that time, the photographer Eddie Janowitz was around. And also, you know, other foreign artists, particularly Dennis Knight. I remember meeting them. And so that was my connection to the art scene. And that's when I learned that there was an art scene. And I worked for Brent for 2 years, and I saved my money, my salary, but Brent also provided an opportunity for me to participate in exhibitions. And one I remember was a contemporary, young contemporaries. And I remember participating in that exhibition, and Sir Roland Simonet coming to that exhibition, because Brenton had a relationship with Sir Roland Simonet and all of that, you know. And Sir Roland Simonet looked at my work, and I remember he bought my first piece, and he paid $350 for that piece. And he said to me, I understand that you aspire to go off to college. Well, I'm not only buying this piece from you, it was a sketch there. He says, I want you to use this $350 to make sure you buy yourself some food when you go off to college. So, and to me, I also understood right then and there that there were individuals who were interested in investing in my education and my future. And so that was my introduction to the art scene in the 70s. And then from there on, I had the opportunity to raise sufficient funds to go off to school. I could not go to university back then. All right. I went to Miami-Dade Community College. I went to a community college, and the reason why I went to a community college is because I had an aunt living in Miami. And so I was able to stay with my aunt and go to Miami-Dade Community College. And I completed my 2-year, my associates in a year and a half, because I needed to get out of that environment. But I remember meeting an art teacher at Miami-Dade by the name of Jane Steinsnyder. I'll never forget her name. And she looked at me and she was my teacher, and every time I produced a work, she says, you're a little bit more mature than everybody else. You've had some experience. I said, no, ma'am. You know, this is my first time in art school. But not making the connection between my experience back in Nassau at Matinee Art Gallery and working with Brent Malone. I never really, as far as I was concerned, that was just a means to an end. But Jane Steinsnyder saw that I had something special. And she's the one who helped me to develop a portfolio. And she had a professor who taught at the Philadelphia College of Art, University of Art. And so she sent my portfolio to the University of the Arts. Well, Philadelphia of the Arts, because that's what it was first. It's now called the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. And I was accepted. Wow. And so I spent the greater part of 2.5, 3 years in Philadelphia. And there is where I began to be exposed to Afro-American artists, because different genres of art, and my whole exposure to the art world just kind of took off, because, you know, I went to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, man. I grew up. You know, I walked those steps that Rocky walked, you know, Rocky Balboa and Rocky. So I understand Fairmount Park and so forth, because that's where I grew up. And Philadelphia was a militant town back there, so this whole thing about black, white, and the meaning of art, at the time when the Philadelphia sound was pretty big with Teddy Pendergrass and all of those. That all happened within the area where I studied. And so Philadelphia really helped to shape who I am as an artist. Really building upon the foundation that I got by spending those formative years with Brent Nowe.
Yes. Oh, that's really interesting. You know how you started. You know, Brent Nowe, one of who has a retrospective now.
That's right.
Helps influence your art career. But coming back, first of all, what made you want to actually come back and contribute to the Bahamian art scene?
I never wanted to.
You never wanted to?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
No, don't forget, I came out of an environment that was really not very supportive.
Yes.
There was just a handful of people who were supportive. But when I came back from Philadelphia, not only with my BFA,
Yes.
with honors, but I came back as an artist with some success, because during my senior thesis, my final year, I was invited to have an exhibition at the University of Temple, McLean's Hall. And the work that I exhibited at the University of Temple, McLean's Hall, what happened was the Dean Leocaris at that time, they were so taken by the work, they bought the entire collection. So I had a little bit of money when I graduated, right? I mean, it wasn't a lot.
But it was good.
But it was good money. It was good enough for me to come home and get an apartment for a time, and then I was gonna go to Africa. My dream was because I was steeped into the Philadelphia culture and it was exposed a bit to segregation and all that stuff, and economic influence on us as a people. And so I did that, and when I came back to Nassau, he said, now we have a post for you at Government High School, you're going to go teach. I'm like, I'm not a teacher. I just have a degree in art. He said, well, we need a teacher. You got a degree, you know how to paint, you know how to draw. Report to Government High School. And so from 1981 to 2001, I taught 10 years at the Government High School, and then I taught 10 years at a college in the Bahamas.
Veteran teacher. Veteran teacher.
So, and during the time as a teacher, I realized the importance of providing my students at the time. I always felt it was important for the people who you were responsible for teaching. I mean, you can teach them the basics. You can teach them the elements of design and principles of composition. You can look at a book and tell them to look at a book, but I learned, because of my personal experience, that it was very important to have access to museums and galleries, which we didn't, other than the Brent Nowe galleries at that time, because there was really no public gallery that was easily accessible to my high school students or students who were taking the BJCs or the GCs. And so back from 1982 onward, I've been involved, not only trying to be a practicing artist, but I've always been involved in trying to create opportunities for my students to be exposed to the art scene.
Yes, because the National Art Gallery never came about until about 2004.
That's right. But prior to the National Art Gallery, there was the Central Bank.
Yes, Central Bank.
And I had the privilege of starting that program in 1983.
So you've done a lot in the art community, but what actually led you to create Hillside House?
It's an extension of the whole idea of places and spaces.
Yes.
All right, and Hillside House is more than an art gallery that we rent. It's more of a community center, because you can come here and experience art, but from time to time you can experience music as well.
Yes.
Okay, because I feel like that we are a place where, in order for us to get the full experience as to who we are, we need to be connected to all of the genres and all of the various disciplines in art and culture, and music plays a very significant role. Also, writers. You know, I mean, we need the writers more than I think we need anybody else to be able to articulate, all right, and to document a lot of what is happening in terms of development of art in our country.
And looking forward in the future, where do you see, you know, the Bahamian art scene, for example, in the next 10 years? Like, what do you foresee a bit in the future?
You know, because of our proximity to the United States, and us being the gateway to the Caribbean, I think in the near future, I think it's going to be difficult to distinguish Bahamian art.
Yes.
I think because a lot of the creative people coming from the Bahamas are being educated outside of the Bahamas.
Yes.
And the world is so small now as a result of social media and so forth. I think what I see happening now with a lot of the emerging artists who are very contemporary in their approach, right? Very cutting edge. I see them just using the Bahamas as a platform upon which they can be engaged in global issues, whether it be through music, whether it be through painting, whether it be through poetry. I think the Bahamas is, you're going to see a lot more artists from the region also migrating to the Bahamas to be engaged in or participate in this kind of explosion of culture.
Cultural explosion.
And that's what I see.
Yes.
And the lines
are becoming blurred.
Becoming blurred. I mean, you know, but maybe that's what punk salad is, right?
Yes.
It's a kind of a combination of all these things and mix up with that. And even if you listen to the music, there's a little bit of Haitian rhythm, there's a little bit of Jamaican, there's a little bit of whatever.
Yes. Okay?
There's a little bit of rap, and there's a little bit of, you know, whatever's popular at this time. So I think what's happening is there's a significant fusion that is going on. But maybe that is what Bahamian is.
Fusion.
I don't think there will be a lot more focus on. I mean, for some people, preserving a bit of history is very important. Okay, Joseph Spence is off the chain. I mean, the person who I see come closest to Joseph Spence is Fred Ferguson on that guitar. I mean, Fred is amazing. Okay, he is a genius. But Fred too is aware of the importance of embracing different sounds, different technology to further develop your talent.
Yes.
Or your discipline.
Yes, and within your artwork, I notice you use a lot of vibrant color palettes. Is that your personal choice, or does that have to do with the environment? You know?
It's about the environment.
Yes.
It's about the environment. I mean, I had an opportunity to spend 40 days in China. You know, I have a piece in the World Sculpture Park in China. I got a 12-foot bronze in the World Sculpture Park in China. I did that in 2005, 2006. You know, I've had a chance to work in Italy.
Yes.
I worked in marble in Italy. Okay, I had a chance to work in Seattle, Washington. I worked in glass in Seattle, Washington. So I think, I mean, artists being true to oneself,
yes.
They tend to mirror or be inspired by the environment in which they find themselves in. For me, I am no longer tied to making social statements. I am no longer very much focused on making political statements. At 58 years of age, I am more focused on connecting with my spirituality,
yes.
and celebrating the beauty that surrounds me. And right now, the most beautiful surroundings that I'm in touch with are waters, the ocean. I mean, it helps to define us, very much so. And then when I think about the history of Bahamas or the history of our people, I mean, you cannot think about the history of Bahamas or the history of our people without recognizing the role that the ocean and our waters play in it.
Yes.
When you think about migration right now.
Water. Everything. Water. Our livelihood. We eat.
When you think about your pathway to Christ, you have to be